Hello investors, we are here today to live stream Q4 2020 earnings call of Planet13 Holdings, other known as PLTH ticker if you are trading in Canada, or PLNHF. Each time I'm trying to memorize this OTC ticker, it's just, I don't know why HF in the end, but anyway. So, in about 3 minutes, we are going to know the financial results of Planet13. Right now, I was about to look whether we have already some information published there, and I do not see any as of right now. Yeah, there is no annual or Q4 2020. But anyway, just, yeah, still nothing. I guess they keep... I guess they keep the suspense. So thank you again being here today with me. This is the company I really like. This is one of my top companies. I think I own about 10% of my portfolio is in Planet13, whether it's in shares or lately I've been start buying more of warrants because, well, you have that leverage with around 5-to-1. And depending on warrants, the price, if you do the calculation, it could be very interesting. So for example, warrant C, warrant D, they're only around 115, I think, for warrant D today. And for warrant C, it was just a third wave of warrants company published. So yeah, I got both of them actually, and it's very interesting because when share rise for let's say 10%, and you bought warrants, well, it's like options, right? You're not 10 but 10 multiplied by 5, so it means you're 50% up. And recently, if you see those warrants, they've been there was a volatility, and interesting stuff that warrant can go up 70% just in one day. Because in the morning it trades $1.50 and in the afternoon it's already $3. And why I like those warrants? Because, well, you know, Planet13, that's the company I believe in really, really hard. They got a great management. I really like listening to their management shareholders meeting each time. Then they have like this universe of MJ Universe, right? They are vertically integrated company, and it's like Apple, but in this space, in G space. They own literally from production to distribution, all the steps there, and they're not only created their own universe, they also sell products that are outside of their universe. And I think this is gonna be huge, just because a great company in the big trend, which is growing right now. And I think in New York, like just recently as last week, they authorized the recreational cannabis in New York just immediately. And you will see that's happening more and more in the United States. And Planet13 there is number one. So I think we're about to start. So with that being said, please like, subscribe, and also if you're more, if you know to know more about, you know, different stocks and how do I invest, how we are all investing. We have a small community of investors. So I put the link in the live chat, and you can always find it in the link to our private and public Discord group there. So feel free to join and ask me and other people questions there. We are there on a daily basis. Now, let's see if we already started. Should be there any moment. No, still muted there. It almost feels like each time they set up for 5 p.m., for example, Eastern time, and we always wait for like 5 minutes probably. Well, it's not a big deal, but still, you know, when you set up something for 5 p.m., it's really be there in time.
Welcome to Planet13
Okay, it started.
2020 fourth quarter
Enjoy.
financial results conference call. As a reminder, this conference call is being recorded on April 5th, 2021. At this time, all participant lines are in a listen-only mode. Following the presentation, we will conduct a question and answer session. Instructions will be provided at that time for research analysts to queue up for questions. If anyone has any difficulty hearing the conference, please press *0 for operator assistance at any time. I would now like to turn the call over to Mark Kindersma, Head of Investor Relations for Planet13.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Planet13 Holdings' fourth quarter 2020 financial results were released today. The press release, financial statements, and MD&A are available on SEDAR, as well as on our website, planet13holdings.com. Before I pass the call over to management, we'd like to remind listeners that a portion of today's discussion includes forward-looking statements. There can be no assurance that such information will prove to be accurate or that management's expectations or estimates of future developments, circumstances, or results will materialize. As a result of these risks and uncertainties, the results or events predicted in these forward-looking statements may differ materially from actual results or events. Risk factors that could affect results are detailed in the company's public filings that are made available on SEDAR, and we encourage listeners to read those statements in conjunction with today's call. Forward-looking statements in this conference call are made as of the date of this call. Planet13 disclaims any intention or obligation to update or revise such information except as required by applicable law. It does not assume any liability for disclosure relating to any company mentioned herein. Planet13 financial statements are presented in U.S. dollars, and the results discussed during the call are in U.S. dollars unless otherwise indicated. On the call today, we have Bob Groesbeck, Co-Chairman and Co-CEO, Larry Scheffler, Co-Chairman and Co-CEO, and Dennis Logan, CFO. I will now pass the call over to Larry Scheffler, Co-Chairman and Co-CEO of Planet13 Holdings, Inc.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for participating in our fourth quarter call. I'm thrilled to announce Vegas is back. While Q4 was muted due to seasonality and increased COVID restrictions during November, December, we've seen strength in Q1 with revenue of $23.8 million, which included an incredibly strong March as Las Vegas continues to open. In March, we generated $9.7 million and had multiple new state single-day records, including 5 days of over $400,000 in single-day sales. Bob and I have been saying for a while that the pent-up demand for tourism, fun, and all things Las Vegas is overwhelming. As more vaccines get into more arms, we will only see this tidal wave of demand grow. The state recognizes this, and with the number of vaccines now delivered in the U.S., they plan to open up Las Vegas at 100% capacity on May 1st. This means that after over a year of operating at 50% capacity or less and having our hands tied behind our back, the Las Vegas Superstore will be back and better than ever. Diving into Q4, sales were impacted by the state's decision to reduce in-store capacity limits from 50% to 25% across the city, resulting in less tourism during what is already a slow period of the year. Despite this additional obstacle, we still generated $20.1 million in Q4 revenue, 21.8% higher than the last year. That revenue was broken down into $15 million from the Superstore, $3.4 million from curbside and delivery, $700,000 in 42 days from our Medicine neighborhood dispensary, and $1 million from wholesale and others. The Medicine dispensary is quickly building back to where it was pre-shutdown. We've seen consistent month-over-month growth in Q1 and are excited to see how it will perform, especially once the football season starts. Along with Medicine, our delivery and curbside have remained strong alternatives for locals, especially those that work on the Strip. We're lucky that we've been able to make changes to both our building and parking lot to facilitate proper traffic throughput, which is impossible for most dispensaries in the state. This is a new and convenient way to shop for cannabis, especially when heading home after a long day at work. Looking at our 2020 results, we took share among local customers through our delivery, curbside pickup, wholesale, and our new Medicine store. As the city reopens, we plan to maintain our new hard-won local customers or picking up where we left off as the destination of choice for anyone visiting Las Vegas, bringing Planet13 to new heights. On October 13, we announced the addition of non-cannabis retail, continuing to build out the Superstore. In addition to the non-cannabis retail, we're also doubling the dispensary floor, adding an additional 40 points of sale and another entertainment feature. These upgrades will be ready before the end of Q3 2021. with what we are seeing right now in March and April, the expansion of the dispensary floor and extra points of sale are absolutely necessary and can't be done soon enough. As a reminder, we also took time to upgrade all the washrooms and back-end facilities to support a club or consumption lounge. While it's still too early to know what will happen with the club or lounge, we're seeing positive movement on creating appropriate regulations and want Planet 13 to be a first mover in this new and exciting space. Throughout the year, a team has swiftly and professionally adapted to overcome challenge after challenge. I couldn't be prouder of how they've risen to the occasion. In a year where tourism dropped off approximately 55%, in Las Vegas compared to 2019, we were able to grow revenue and maintain our Las Vegas market share, a true testament to the quality and hard work of each and every member of the Planet 13 team, and I can't thank them enough. With that, I'll pass it off to Dennis to discuss our financials.
Thanks, Larry. Before I begin, I'd just like to remind everyone that all numbers discussed on today's call are stated in U.S. dollars unless specifically stated otherwise. So despite the additional COVID-19 challenges we had to overcome in Q4, the company generated $20.1 million in revenue, a 22% increase over the prior year, same period in Q4 of 2019. Q1 21 saw a return to sequential growth as Las Vegas started to reopen and the tourists returned. The company generated $23.8 million in revenue in Q1 2021, including $9.5 million in March, our highest month ever. We expect continued strength in Q2 as tourism returns to more normalized levels and the state of Nevada reopens without any capacity restrictions on May 1st. Gross margins in Q4 2020 were 37.1%, with the capacity limits across the Strip reduced in November as part of the state's COVID-19 pause. The company had a minimal number of tourist customers during the last 2 months of Q4 2020. With practically all sales being made to local customers in November and December, who we've always given a 20% discount to, our gross margin was well below the Planet 13 standard. We've seen this gross margin climb back up to the mid and high 50% range in Q1 2021, especially in March as tourism has returned. Our in-house branded products accounted for 23% of in-store sales in Q4 2020, and the company continues to expand its in-house product offering and is moving towards its goal of 50% vertical integration in Nevada. Sales and marketing expense was $621,000 in Q4 2020, down approximately $370,000 from the prior quarter, and this is mainly as a result of lower marketing spend aimed at the tourist customer. We expect this number to return to a more balanced sales mix targeting both locals and tourists for the balance of 2021 and expect to see an increase in spend towards the end of Q2 21 as we support the opening of our Orange County Superstore. The company spent $7.4 million on G&A in Q4 2020, up from $6.2 million in Q3 2020. This increase is related to the reopening of the Medicine dispensary and preparing for our Orange County Superstore opening. This will trend slightly higher as we fully staff up Orange County prior to opening the store, and is expected then to decrease as a percentage of revenue in the second half of the year as we start to generate revenue from our Orange County location. As of December 31st, 2020, the company had a cash balance of $79 million, up from $56.7 million at the end of September 2020. Cash increased over Q3 as a result of a $20.6 million bought deal financing and $15.9 million from the exercise of warrants, offset by income tax payments of approximately $7 million and $3.8 million spent on CapEx and licenses related to our new cultivation and expansion of the Superstore. Since December 31st, 2020, the company closed on an additional $53.8 million in financing, 69 million Canadian in gross proceeds. We also saw the exercise of approximately 2.9 million warrants and 99,000 options that were exercised that brought in an additional 10.9 million in cash. As of today, we have approximately 142 million in the bank. And a reminder, our current outstanding growth CapEx commitments are about $8 million for the Orange County Superstore Phase 1 build-out, $2 million for upgrades and additions at the Superstore, and our recently acquired Bell Drive cultivation facility, improvements there. The balance of funds of approximately $132 million is earmarked for accretive M&A and other expansion opportunities. And with that, I will hand the call back over to Bob.
Thank you, Dennis, and good afternoon, everyone. 2020 was an incredible year full of challenges, but for Planet13, 2020 was also a year of incredible improvement and accomplishments. We maintained share of tourists, took share of local customers, grew our wholesale and brands, opened our second Las Vegas dispensary, and are well on our way to our first out-of-state expansion. In the wholesale market, we've gone from 8 dispensaries at the start of the year to 40 at the end of Q3 to 53 carrying our brands today. We now sell to approximately 70% of all dispensaries in the state. The cultivation facility we purchased in July has been fully transitioned to medicine strains, increasing our supply of premium flower. We are still limiting sales of medicine to just our 2 stores. It's proven to be a strong draw among locals and helps us attract customers and build basket size. Overall, in-house products were responsible for 23% of in-store sales during the quarter, up from 15% in Q4 of 2019. We continue to see a steady share of shelf gain based solely on customer demand. Unlike some other dispensaries, we focus and provide significant support for third-party brands sold at the superstore. Brands recognize the opportunity to build awareness that comes with having shelf space in the superstore and having our marketing support behind them, and are happy to partner with us. You may have noted our recent deal with Curaleaf Select. This is a fine example of the type of demand for brand building in this industry and how Planet13 is helping to address that need. Outside of Nevada, our Orange County, California superstore, P13OC as we affectionately call it, is rapidly progressing. We're on track and on budget for our targeted opening around the middle of the year. We've released preliminary renderings of the store on our website, and we encourage everyone to again take a look. Like in Las Vegas, we are building a different level of entertainment and cannabis shopping experience. While a bit smaller than our Las Vegas operation, I think this store might even be better than our Las Vegas store, as we've been able to incorporate everything we've learned over the last 2 years into its design. Leveraging on our experience building out our delivery system in Nevada, we specially built our delivery hub to service the entire Orange County region in a way that is both efficient and will not impact the in-store experience. This includes separate loading docks that don't impede traffic flow and utilizing our ordering and delivery systems that we developed here in Nevada. We are coming close to our next set of expansions. Adding both new superstores and neighborhood stores to our network in exciting tourist-focused markets remains our focus. We've weathered the storm, and our team has shown remarkable resiliency and execution throughout 2020. I'll echo Larry's earlier comments. Vegas is back. And I'll also add that Orange County is not far behind. The explosion in demand we've seen in March makes me incredibly excited for this year. Our local focused offerings, including our first neighborhood dispensary, our curbside and delivery programs, are all performing well. We are also seeing tourism grow week over week. Our first out-of-state expansion is on track, and we have many more opportunities we're getting close to closing on. We've built one of the best retail experiences in America, and have a proven team in place and a balance sheet to go out and bring that experience to more markets across the country. With that, I'd like again to thank everybody for participating on today's call, and I'd now like to ask the operator to end the call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, to open it for questions.
Thank you. At this time, we will be conducting a question and answer session. If you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star.
Hey guys, so there will be a second part right now. I'm staying here. Just what I want to say is that after the Q&A sessions, I will stay here and share some thoughts on Planet 13. and its financials.
Question is from Doug Cooper of Beacon Securities. Please proceed.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. A couple things. Let's hope everybody's well. Let's start off the G&A, $7.4 million in the quarter. Dennis, can you sort of segment that by the superstore itself? How much was earmarked for California and how much for Medicine? I'm just trying to get to know what the sort of economics, four-wall economics of the superstore were in the quarter and what they may be in Q1 if you get the gross margin going from 37 to call it mid-50s.
Yeah, so Doug, let me get back to you and address that. Then I'll do a calculation. I'll come back to you with that.
Okay. Medicine, $700,000 revenue contribution from Medicine. Can you remind us when the doors opened for Medicine?
December, right?
Well, December 1, Doug. Yeah, this is Bob. December 1. We had a soft opening the last week and a half of November, but 12/1 was really the official start date.
Okay. So you think that can get back up to sort of 15 million range in 2021 kind of thing?
Well, again,
based on go ahead, Bob.
No, it's trending very well. I'm very confident we'll get to where we were before we closed that in November of 2018.
Okay. In terms of basket size, where do we sit in the quarter?
In Q4 or you're talking Q1, Doug?
Both, if you have them.
Yeah, so Q4, obviously local customers, bit of a 20% discount on most things. So we were down from the previous high, like October, we were $124 a ticket, and I think we were down, in that 95 to 99 range in November, December, and we've trended now back up above that in March on a consistent basis. So it's we're getting back to where we were before, and that with the stimulus checks coming in, people showing up again, tourists back, that average ticket has continued to climb through the month of March and into April.
So let's just assume December, you sort of alluded to the fact there wasn't many tourists at all. Let's say it's seasonally slow period anyway in Vegas. By the time you moved to March, what percentage of your shoppers were tourists, you think, in March?
Bob, what do you think on that one? I don't have the detail, but I think it's greater. What, it was approaching 50% probably in March.
No, I was going to say we're right, probably in the high 50s right now. Keep in mind, Doug, the town is still officially at 50% of occupancy for the hotel, but the hotel rooms that are open are fully booked.
And it depends on what day of the week. If we're looking at a Friday, Saturday, we could be 80% tourists during the Friday, Saturday.
Right.
And then during the week, the locals pick up more, and they tend to shy away when we get so busy on Friday, Saturday.
Right. Yeah, I just want to confirm one. Go ahead, Larry.
We're still looking up to 2 weekends ago. I think on a Friday we had 4,400 people buy in one day, come through the store.
Okay. Just to confirm, Dennis, what you said.
Go ahead.
Just want to, so gross margin 37, 38% in Q4. You said for Q1 it was up in the mid-50s, or was that for March?
Yeah, it's for March we're back up in the mid to high 50s, and for Q1 we're well above where we were in Q4.
Okay. Would it be sort of in the high 40s for the first quarter then?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll probably exceed the 50%, but we'll have to see in the next couple of weeks as we work through our Q1 numbers, Doug.
Okay. Just the vertical integration strategy with the acquisition you made for the cultivation in Las Vegas. Bob, I think you alluded to the fact that it's fully planted with the Medicine strains. When would you expect that to start impacting gross margin?
Well, I think it is now, Doug. as more and more product, rotations come through, we're seeing that benefit now. And Dennis, I'll let you talk to the specifics, but we're very pleased with the turnaround. It's actually ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I was going to say that same thing, Bob. We are now, Doug, seeing that benefit both through our sales of premium flower, which is growing as a percentage more in line with the rest of the product offerings we have, and then our ability to use all of the trim from that location in our concentrate products and vape pens, et cetera. So we're very pleased with the progress that we've made at the W-Vapes facility. Okay. And getting our strains into that building. Part of the problem was that building, certain strains do better in that building than others, and so we've moved all of the strains that are optimized for that type of growing location, and so we're starting to see the yields now trend back well above where they were when we acquired the facility. So.
Okay, so the goal of 50% of your own products, when do you think you'll reach that? And you're just talking about Nevada, I'm assuming, not corporately with.
Yeah, exactly. It's just talking about Nevada. I'd like to be there by the sort of end of Q3, going into Q4. It's going to depend. Obviously, the more tourists come back, the more we can push our own products. And so I think as we see the city reopen, we'll see that continue to expand.
Okay. The final one, just on the lounges, Bob, you sort of alluded to the fact that there might be some movement along those lines. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, the good thing is there are multiple parties at the table now, unlike the last session where really there weren't many, particularly in our sector, engaged in the conversation. So, this is where they make the sausage, and it's not a pretty experience, but I'm encouraged from the standpoint that, again, there are multiple parties at the table looking to find a solution. How gaming comes into the picture, we don't know yet, but I think everyone recognizes now that there's a critical need to fill this void, that, tourists can come into the city and legally purchase products, marijuana products, but can't legally use them anywhere in the Strip corridor. And, with that recognition, now there's meaningful talk of a solution. So, it's a toss-up. I can't predict what's going to happen, but I can tell you we're way ahead this session than we were, 2 years ago.
Okay. Great. That's it for me. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, Doug. Good talking to you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Bobby Burleson of Canaccord. Please proceed.
Hey, guys. So just maybe following up on the last question, Bills 235 and 341, conversion of medical to adult use and consumption lounges. Any idea when we can expect, incremental updates on the progress, any key milestones that'll kind of let us know that it's getting done in your favor?
So, Bobby, this is Bob, and I apologize. I missed the first part of your question. I was just turning back into the room. If you could repeat that, I'll be happy to get you an answer.
Yeah, just curious about Bill 235, the conversion of medical to adult use stores.
Yeah.
What that looks like for your medicine asset and kind of likelihood of it going through.
Well, the bill's got a lot of problems. So, kind of put it out there in the most base explanation. It's basically an end-around effort to double the number of licenses. And I don't think although there is support, obviously there were sponsors significant enough to get a bill draft out. There's a lot of opposition. And I think people now are recognizing it for what it was or what it is. It's an attempt doing an end around on the licensing process. Whether it's cleaned up and whether they can bring some sense to the bill, I don't know at this point. But things are moving quickly, I can tell you that. So, we've got a 120-day session here in Nevada. So, they'll either get it done by June or it won't get done. So, right now, the last draft I saw of the bill, my prediction is that will not pass. If there's meaningful revision, there might be an opportunity to see something come out of it.
Okay. Great, thanks. And then in terms of your kind of long-term goal of, maintaining 8 to 10% share of Nevada sales, how should we start thinking about wholesale? That's becoming more meaningful for you. I think you said 53 dispensaries, 76% of the network there in Nevada. How does your share look when you factor in that wholesale presence?
Dennis, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, sure. So, Bobby, it's Dennis. So we definitely want to see that grow. Historically, we've been closer to 10%, and obviously COVID hit. The levels are down. We're focused on tourists. I think it comes back. I think we'll be above the 10, probably 10, 11%, and then the wholesale component of that will add to it. We're hoping that it continues to grow. Right now, I think we're running in there about $1 million in the quarter. I'd like to see that, significantly increase in terms of revenue. So, as to what it looks like in total with the wholesale in it, we haven't given any guidance, but I definitely think we'll get back above the 10% in that 10, 11% range.
Okay, great. And then in terms of timing of the home delivery ramp in Orange County, is that launching simultaneously with the store in short order after the mid-year launch? And, is that a slow ramp or a fast one?
Yeah, so Bobby, it's Bob. Our goal, ideally I'd like to open delivery before we open the superstore itself. Again, there are a lot of timing issues involved here, but it may be at or about the same time we open to the public at the facility, but it is going to be a steep ramp up. We're making the commitment, to have a fleet fully mobilized and fully staffed. So we're gonna come out both barrels blazing as soon as that thing opens.
And then we have kind of an idea of what could happen with margins as you bring on additional cultivation and production, through M&A in California, in terms of becoming more competitive with other players in home delivery.
Right. Well, we're obviously looking at cultivation and production opportunities as well. I think Larry and I and Dennis, we're of like mind that we want to be an integrated operator there. Obviously, that helps us on our margins, but it helps us also control our product lines and our supply. So we're actively looking at opportunities over there. So, and fortunately, there are a lot of stressed assets in both the cultivation and production space to give us an opportunity.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, Bobby. Great talking to you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Greg Gibas from Northland Securities. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Larry, Bob, and Dennis. Thanks for taking the questions, and great to hear about the strong March revenue. If I could, I guess, first follow up on the tourist uplift that you saw in Q1. I know this was already talked about, but just a follow up. I think, Bob, you last mentioned, you're kind of seeing it at the high 50% right now is where tourists, kind of fall. How should we think about that maybe compared to what Q4 was roughly?
Dennis, you want to jump in first?
Yeah. So Greg, it's Dennis. We look at Q4. We had, the COVID pause went in, reducing the capacity basically to 25% from 50%, early November. So October was trending much like it was for us through, July, August, September, October were all, strong months, month-over-month growth, lots of tourists. Still not the same number that we were getting, pre-COVID shutdown. We were sort of in that 55,000 a month total customers, and then through November, December, you saw that drop off substantially from a tourist perspective, and the local traffic pick up a bit, but overall obviously down. And then that COVID pause continued through January, February. Really didn't see the lift come back until March, when those stimulus checks started going out and people started coming back to Vegas. And now with the planned reopening and no capacity limits starting May 1st, we expect the we expect the floodgates to open and people to come in droves back to the dispensary and back to Vegas. So I think we'll be well north of that 50% as we move towards May.
Sure. Sounds good. I guess I did want to follow up, just given the strong balance sheet too. If there is any update you can provide us on the attractive opportunities that you're seeing in other states. Have any of these fallen through, or are I guess some looking more attractive in any way? I know you can't share too much, but maybe how have multiples or anything you can share, how have they trended during your search process?
Well, if I look at a couple of the states, obviously there have been some deals announced, and if I look at Massachusetts, in that the recent deals been done in that marketplace in the 4 to 6 times EBITDA range. I mean, we're seeing stuff in that ballpark in certain markets, slightly more expensive depending on how big the operations are, if they're multi-state, if it's single state, if it's fully vertically integrated. So we're seeing opportunities across the board, as Bob mentioned, in California, both retail production and cultivation in California, vertical in other markets, single state vertical, multi-state vertical. So it's going to depend on how big the operations are and what the footprint is in terms of what that multiple ultimately looks like. But I'd say for a single state scenario, we're not far off that 4 to 6 times.
Okay, great. That's helpful. And then I did want to follow up too regarding the timeline, I guess, of doubling the dispensary sales floor to add, I think it was 40 points of sale and then an additional entertainment feature. Larry, I think the last call you talked about even potentially expanding the sales floor further post once the COVID pandemic is gone and we're back to 100% versus the 50%, which we now have a little bit of visibility on. But have any of the updated plans or thoughts, I guess, into the sales floor expansion? Anything you can share there, or whether that makes sense regarding the updated timeline?
Well, we're currently pre-COVID. We had less than 3% of the tourists coming to our store. As we double the size of it, if we add 40 more cash registers, it'll be less than 6% of the tourists. And if we doubled that again and got 120 cash registers, which I predict in 18 months we will be looking at again, but that's just me, we'll still have less than 12% of the tourists, and we'll be fully built out with 120 cash registers. With all of that said, that's really the biggest expansion, profit margin, and growth we're going to see, even more than wholesale, is the square footage enlargement of the dispensaries. Of the dispensary here in Las Vegas. So I'm expecting huge jumps, and we've had such good success, and it started getting so crazy, letting everybody know with internet searches, with people doing Facebooks and social medias after they'd come here and saw their experience. It was just blowing up when COVID started. So we still ask people throughout the store what is going on, and where have they heard about us, and why did they come to see us? And it's always been either a Google search or a friend told them that they got to see it when they get here. So, again, we're seeing on the Friday and Saturday 100 people in line, an hour wait. And, again, why we decided to double the size in COVID is because 25 to 30% of our customers, as we're doing our surveys on those weekdays, Friday, Saturday, were leaving the lines and going to our competitor across the street, which I don't blame them. I hate lines also, when I got to wait an hour to get waited on, just because we're that jammed up. So it will keep expanding, but we've got to do it right away to get the people in and out. And, again, we're going to give them another experience. There are actually going to be 2 more experiences, probably by the time it opens, for entertainment again, which more reasons to come and see what's going on next in Las Vegas.
Okay, great. Yeah, look forward to any updates there. But, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I did want to follow up, too, on, and I apologize if you already talked about this, but, your ability to expand wholesale and then contract manufacturing, I guess just in Nevada right now, if you think about, I think you said now selling to 70 dispensaries in Nevada, do you see additional growth coming from going deeper, I guess, with those current dispensaries, or maybe adding additional wholesale partners? Where do you think that number can go? And then just to make sure, I guess I had it right, did you break out revenue from wholesale, and then the revenue from Medizin, even though, like you said, it was 1 month out of the quarter?
Yeah, it's Dennis, Greg. We did break out the revenue, and I think in Larry's comments he talked about it. It's in the MD&A in terms of the 20.1 million for Q4, fully broken out. If I give me a minute, I'll find it back. I'll get it back for you on that front. And then what was the second part of your question?
Just kind of where you see additional expansion from wholesale coming.
Oh yeah,
from.
No, on the wholesale piece of it, yeah. Yeah, so we're seeing of the dispensaries we're in, there are obviously some that are performing better than others. We're seeing big reorders on the ones that are focused on pushing quality brands, and we're seeing others start to dabble and try the product. So we see some decent success in that throughput selling and the reordering. We have a lot of capacity right now in that production facility. I think we're still only running one shift, and we were able to supply all our own needs and all of the needs of the wholesale channels right now. We have looked at contract manufacturing. We've been approached by brands trying to get into Nevada, and I think it will play well for us if we can offer that contract manufacturing and the dispensary experience for up to 50% of our revenue. That's sort of our target. So we're kind of leveraging both fronts on that contract manufacturing side. So I think we've got lots of room for expansion there. It's just a slow and steady. Don't want to flood the market. Want to make sure that the throughput selling is happening across the network, and that seems to be the case with the reorders we're seeing.
So hey, Greg, this is Bob. Let me just add to Dennis's comment that we're also expanding the array of products that we're offering out to our retail partners. And so we've got some really exciting additions to our brand portfolio that will be hitting the market here over the next 60, 90 days that we think are going to help us, capture additional revenues, obviously.
And then, Greg, just to follow up on that point, so in Q4, the 20.1 million in revenue, 15 million was from in-store at the superstore, 3.4 million was curbside and delivery. 700,000 was the Medizin neighborhood dispensary. That's for 42 days of operations, and then we had 1 million in wholesale in the quarter of Q4.
Perfect. Appreciate the breakout, Dennis. I will leave it there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad, and a confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. Our next question is from Adam Altberg of Bank of Montreal. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, guys, and great numbers slogging through some really challenging times. So congrats to the entire team there.
Thanks, Adam.
I have a couple questions for you guys. And they have to do more, I guess, with the macro forward looking approach. And I'm not asking specifically related to Planet13 forward-looking numbers. It's more so around Vegas and expansion. And I know a couple of the other guys touched on it briefly. So one item you mentioned, Larry, I think that you said Vegas is slated to reopen to 100% starting May the 1st. And we saw, as an example, the Texas Rangers, I believe, their baseball home opener was open 100% to fans. Is there any guidance, because I'm very interested in that additional Vegas traffic that is, that we've talked about for a while to come, both through the football, through the NFL season, and obviously as well through any, for lack of a better term, I guess, like Live Nation. I don't know who controls that stadium in terms of live events, but have they given you any type of guidance in terms of what stadium capacity and availability might look like, given what you said about May the 1st and 100% opening?
So Adam, this is Bob. Larry just stepped out for a second, but let me address that to the extent that I can. The May 1st date, obviously, a date that we're all excited about, but this is, of course, COVID, and things can change on a whim, as we all know. What I'm encouraged about is I'm now seeing venues open, albeit at a reduced capacity, but nonetheless opened every day. We're seeing announcements. So, I'm seeing shows, for instance, now that are 25 to 35% capacity. Restaurants now at 35% with indoor dining. As far as the larger venues, the stadiums like Allegiant Stadium, for instance, there's a large concert that's been promoted or postponed 3 times. A country western star who was the inaugural act to open the stadium, and Garth Brooks. So I saw recently, I think it was like a week ago, they put an announcement out, said, they're going to now have the show on June. But, of course, with an asterisk and a caveat that, the level of attendance is to TBD. They just don't know how many people they're going to have in the venue at that time. So we don't really have any guidance beyond that. We're just following the directives from the government officials. And as those events get closer to their active dates, then, of course, we expect to get more information.
Okay, great. Understood. Second question, the expansion of licenses in the state of Nevada. Are you or have you guys been able to sort of get a head start on establishing relationships, with some of the competitors, or not necessarily competitors because obviously it's a large state, but with some of the potential parties that might win a license, and getting ahead of that to make sure that you're establishing a wholesale relationship or potential wholesale relationship once those are awarded?
Well, it's a great question, and yes, we are. We're actively courting, current license holders, and we don't know who the new licensees will be, but when that materializes, if it does, we'll actively court them as well. And it is, it's a big state geographically, but it's a very small state, with respect to our industry, and so we're constantly looking to forge relationships and to expand our wholesale offerings into our competitor stores. But it's in flux now, Adam. We don't know, as was mentioned earlier. We've got a couple bills out here in our current legislature, or the current session rather, that are basically attempting to potentially double the number of licenses in the state. We can have a discussion whether that's good or bad, but probably shouldn't right now. But I can assure you, if it's 10, 20, 30, we'll be knocking on their doors. And, it's our expectation, because of the quality of our products, that we'll be in those facilities.
Got it. And thank you. Thanks, Bob. And last question, if you are able to, obviously out of all out of negative situations, affords some opportunities. And, there are some key rec legal states, that I know, or that you guys have indicated, I should say, historically, are on your sort of hit list. And, out of the pandemic, I'm sure that you guys have been presented with or have seen some prime locations of real estate that have become available due to the pandemic. Now,
right.
As far as, some of the other guys, they did touch briefly upon expansion. What I am seeing is I believe that the window is rapidly closing, especially since, according to the government, you're vaccinating over 20 million people a week. The window is rapidly closing if it hasn't already closed on some of those prime real estate locations. So have you been able to, even lock down or sign LOIs or anything along those lines to acquire some key locations, let's say in Illinois, or, obviously now New York is going legal. So maybe you can just touch on that topic.
Well, yeah, Adam. We are looking in just about every adult use market right now for opportunities. And all I can say is we've identified some fantastic real estate. And it's another thing now to identify the operator to either bring them into the tent as in a merger situation or just an outright purchase. We're doing that, and now that the borders are opening up, we can fly, we can drive. We're actively engaged in those opportunities. We're really excited about where things are going. I don't. It's just the opposite for me in my experience. I think last week I put about 6,000 miles in the air and another 1,000 miles driving, looking at deals, and there's plenty of opportunities. And closer to home in California in particular, Adam, there are a lot of assets out there that are now in play that weren't, 3 months ago. So we're spending a lot of time doing a deep dive, trying to find opportunities that complement our portfolio.
Okay, great. All right, thanks very much.
Yep, good talking to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's conference. You may disconnect your lines at this time. Thank you for your participation.
Hey guys, so this is not the end, so stay here for another 5-10 minutes. So just a few words what have just been said here. We saw the results, they're pretty good. I will do right now, I hear myself in the headphones. That's disturbing. So right now I will end up this live and we'll start another one. We'll just go through all the results and analyze and show you some of my thoughts about where are we right now. For those of you who did not catch the beginning, you can always, of course, play back it. But as a short summary, results are good. I should say great results. But we are not yet there. We didn't win the battle yet, right? We are not profitable. But we still have cash. And let's see how it goes when we do go through all those numbers right now. So guys, I really encourage you to like and subscribe to the channel. I end up this live right now and start another one in 2-3 minutes. So don't